Okay. Screen recorders work as you anticipate certain responses to the vending machine task on an external site. Focus specifically on page 2 with machine C and D and page 4 with machine G. Use the Knight framework to guide your anticipations as you move through this activity. How to engage. So, wide regions of possibilities in your anticipations. Okay, well, focus on page 2 of the applet, machine C and D. I'm gonna assume this means do all of them and mainly focus. Yeah, let's just do that. Which one is the function? Red cola, blue cola, silver, green. Take can. Red, 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 blue, 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 blue. Silver, 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 green, 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 green. Looks like a function. Yeah. Red, always red, take can. Blue, always blue, take can. Silver. Well, green's giving everything. Okay, well, this task already says, like on the first page, it says they have to already be familiar with the definition of function. So we're looking at students deciding which one is a function. They would decide this one's a function. I think even just without hitting the take can, they would be like, oh, this one just gives you what you want every time. With this one, red, blue, silver, they might think it's a function unless we've trained them to hit the take can button. But maybe they'll get lucky. Maybe they'll go boo doo doo doo, and then boop, and they'll be like, "Oh, what? Why didn't it pop up?" And then eventually it'll pop up. Um, so if they come to me and they say, "Oh, there's the same function," or they're both functions, then I'll ask them if they've been taking the can every time. Okay, that was page 1. Page 2, red gives blue, that's fine. Blue gives silver, that's fine. Silver gives green, green gives red. Always gives blue. Always gives silver. Always gives that. I can immediately see some kids being like, "Oh, it's not giving what it says on the thing, so it can't be a function, or it's not properly defined." Um, but it always gives the same thing. Okay, that's fine. Nope, never mind. That is not fine. That is not fine. Randomness. Different outcomes. Let's see what this says. Spoken and written mathematical thinking. They will. They might have reservations since they don't line up with what the buttons say, but that's easily doable. Or that's easily conversational. Have students engage with technology. Yeah, you'll from what they say, you'll be like, okay, do they have to be? Is that really what it means for it to be a function? Then for this one, they'll really quickly see that it's not a function from the red. You'll be like, this one can't be a function because it gives out 2 when you hit the red button, and then you'll have to push back on that. You'll say if it's spitting out 2 necessarily makes it not a function, and then they'll start talking about like the possible outputs because the goal is just to have the outputs be consistent. Um, I think that's the idea we're trying to get across with the definition of function. So definitely have them run it again and see if it gives out different things. Question 3. Red. Blue. Uh-oh. But it's always the same. Oh, you can't do this to me. Okay, well, kids will say that this one's a function. They might be reserved because they'll be like, "Oh, none of these buttons go to the blue can," but then you'll have to follow up with, "Oh, is it not? Are there not any functions we can think of where two different inputs give the same thing?" Um, you're gonna have to choose a scope on this one. Nope, never mind. Blue gives different ones. Okay, I thought that it consistently gave the. Thought this one consistently gave out the exact same two, but it doesn't. It gives out a bunch of random ones. Um, so I guess we're gonna have to encourage them to hit that clear button or to hit the button multiple times and see if anything different comes out. Yeah. Make sure they're hitting the button over and over and also clearing it. And then we'd have to ask them like, why would we want to do that? Oh, it's just to make sure that we're understanding that we're getting out all the outputs of the function. And that'll show that they understand the definition of function because they're making sure that the output's always exactly the same. Okay, machine G. No. Always goes green. Silver always goes silver. Green always goes green. But red gives random ones. I think we use this one in class. Yeah. What is the image supposed to look like? I don't know. Okay, but yeah, going back to the night framework. Student thinking, they'll hit this. Hit blue's only giving me red. They'll hit this. They'll say, oh, silver's only giving me red. Green is only giving me red. This can't be a function. Or they might also hit the red button and be like, oh, this is giving me everything. Too many outputs. We'll only notice that if they hit the button multiple times. So again, make sure that they're doing that and asking them to make sure they understand why they're hitting it multiple times, so you get all the possible outcomes. But also, we do want to make note if any kid says, "Oh, oh, that's cool. Does it give?" It gives out the color of the last red can. Did we know that? Did we go over that in class? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Yeah, not consistent at all. It's not a function at all. I don't think it's important that the kids will realize that there's this pattern of whatever the red one last spit out is what all the other buttons will spit out. But hey, maybe it's a cool pattern for a kid to notice. Yeah, a student might say that, oh, all the other buttons consistently give the same color, but red gives random colors. I don't think it's important for them to know that the other buttons just follow whatever red does. I don't think that's necessary for them to get comfortable with understanding how a function works. Um, But yeah, they'll probably note that red gives out way too many different kinds, and then if they do say something about all the other ones giving the exact same one and that making it not a function, we want to make sure we correct that. But if that happens, we'll address that. But yeah, making sure they're clearing it. Um, and again, just making sure that they understand they're clearing it to be able to get all the possible outcomes from a single input. And yeah, you did say pay attention to this. Yeah, it's all about making sure that they are hitting the take can button to clear it out, so that they know they can look for the other outputs of the same buttons. Hit each button more than once. And again, it is intended for them to already be familiar with functions. They're not learning about how functions work at this point. Okay. Is that it? Yeah, they have to hit the. We want to make sure that they're hitting the button to take the can. Make sure that they understand they're taking the can so that they can see all the possible outputs. Okay.